Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformation. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Good afternoon and good evening, and welcome to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. I'm your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, business positioning strategist, and author, Sean Douglas. This show is currently heard in over 74 countries. So whether you've been joining us for some time or this is the first time that you are here, I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformation. Here is where we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing. We highlight those transformational moments that changed our lives and how we use it to then transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen to us live right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, Tuesday through Friday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. But, however, we are live today because it is International Podcast Day, and I also I'm going to bring on my friend right now who is joining us for the second time for this very special episode, Rhonda Smith. And I'm going to bring her on live right now so she can talk to you about her amazing upcoming book. Rhonda, how the heck are you?
I am amazing. How the heck are you?
I am doing so good. We're going into the fourth quarter of 2019. Today is International Podcast Day, and you are joining us for the second time on Life Transformation Radio. And I don't bring on very many guests that are repeat guests, but you have an amazing book that is coming out, and I am excited to talk about it.
Yay! Well, thank you so much for having me. I do have a little tiny bit of a competitive nature, so I love that I'm a guest for the second time. Thanks so much for having me.
I love it. Absolutely. So for the listeners right now, wherever you are comfortable listening to podcasts, please subscribe to Life Transformation Radio. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn, Player FM, Radio Public, Overcast, CastBox, the Himalaya app, the Google Play Music app. Basically, wherever you listen to podcasts, Life Transformation Radio can be heard. With that, my guests are entrepreneurs, speakers, business owners, podcasters, authors, amazing human beings that are elevating the world around them. And my guest today, Rhonda Smith, does exactly that. During this radio show, if you have a question for myself or for Rhonda, you can call us up at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. If you want to go and listen to Rhonda's first episode with us back on February 23rd of 2017, she was episode number 83, and there was an unexpected surprise in that show that we did. We had a caller call in. Don't know if he was serious, but we were doing an addiction show. Remember that, Rhonda?
I do.
So we'll let the listeners go back and listen to what happened after that caller, which was kind of awkward, but kind of funny, but kind of super relevant to what we were talking about. So I love it. So, I already had you on the show. We talked about your why. We talked about the transformational moment. And then we talked about how you elevate the world. And so catch us up. It's been 2 years since you've joined us on Life Transformation Radio. What's been going on?
Oh my goodness, right? Like I think 2018 was really about like scraping the scab open and like really looking at ourselves. And 2019 was then like taking the action to create and do the things, like really being connected with our Dharma. So I created a second company called the Expanded Hueman, HUEMAN.com.
Yeah, it's different spelling, yeah.
It is. Well, it's about exploring all the hues of the human, the dark ones, the light ones, the bright ones, the light ones. And and the idea behind it is really to, we answer the question, what's next after personal development? And there's so many people that are out on that rat trap that are just keep like searching for more, to become more, to need more, to do more. And we really found that people, myself included, were just sitting down at this table of truth and so engorged in knowledge and information that we had never taken the time to integrate or really look at. and we weren't really finding a huge level of satisfaction or fulfillment. So we like to grab people as they're jumping off the top of that table and like really help them understand that all the things that we're seeking as humans are really only found inside of us. And how the hell do you get inside of us? How do we go back in there? So that's usually the question. And it's like, I don't want to know what you know that everyone else knows. I want to know what you know. And the only way to do that is to be so in truth and so authentic with who you really are, without the masks, without all the crap, and to really get to being that level of self.
Very, very cool. Talk about Dharma for a second, because this is what I understand, that there is literally no translation from Hinduism, Buddhism, all that. It's just a higher being, like a higher purpose, like an awesomeness, right? But when you talk about Dharma, like, how do you describe it? Because I've heard it described many different ways.
Sure, and I think they're probably all, they're all valid in ways. But like for me, it's purpose is why we think we're here. And that's typically based in like some level of wounding or some level of needing significance. I mean, I became a coach because, not knowingly, but I just had the realization, several months ago, that I became a coach based in the fact that it gave me significance. I had value. People saw me. I offered transformation. It was something that filled something in me that was wounded. So when I healed that piece of me, when I found healing, and there's no healed, when I found healing in that piece, I really didn't have the same need. So my coaching changed, my coaching clients changed, and the level of transformation I offered was significantly different. And it was really about helping people empower themselves in the process. So Dharma is why we're here. Not why we think we're here, but why we're here. And it's just like this book. This book was, I wanted to work with a publisher. I didn't want to self-publish, and I knew somebody who was a publisher, and like it was a big thing, and I needed to sign up with that level of commitment to be able to actually put this out, because the stuff that was coming through me in this book was really hard to digest and process and put out there. It can be. We just did our early readers group, and for some people it was very flicking. There was some people that are like, wow, this is different than what I've ever heard. And so regardless of the outcome, I needed to put this information out there because it was so heavily coming through me that I didn't really have a choice. And it was less about how it was received and more about the fact that it was my dharma to share it. Spirit, source, God, nature, whatever you believe in, really was bringing this through me so heavily, so intensely, that there was no option not to do it.
Got it. Oh, I like that. Very, very cool. So talk about your new book in a way that is going to kind of peer into what the readers are going to get. And I like the whole method. I totally love that. And what I love even more about it is you're telling them, like, quiet the noise, blaze your own trail, which I absolutely love. Expand into your true potential, because the success core is all about unlocking that true potential so you can elevate your life. So talk about that. Like, I love blazing your own trail, but I especially love that it's leaders that need to expand into their true potential.
Well, I mean, we are in trouble. The planet is in trouble. Like, humanity is in trouble. And we can, excuse me, I'm going to have a little bit of coughing going on here. I'll do my best to mute it. It's real. It's what's real. I caught a cold yesterday.
Boy.
It's okay. It snowed where I lived, and we went out and played in the snow, so I deserved it. So I did. I mean, I went out and sat in the snow, and we drank a beer, so I'm not going to lie.
But where are you at right now?
I live up near Lake Tahoe.
I was just there.
In California. Oh, interesting.
I was there from Thursday till Sunday, and I was at the Spartan Race World Championships on their media team. And when I got there on Thursday, it was like 70-something degrees. I left Saturday night to catch a plane, and it was like 20 flipping degrees. I'm like, I'm going back to North Carolina where it's 85. Like, screw this. It is cold. It was ridiculous.
I have to live for their seasons. No, it's magical, and it's like if you like to play in the snow, you just need the right gear, and then you can play in the snow and play in the weather, right?
It was so beautiful. I stayed at Plumpjack was where my hotel was, right there in the Squaw Valley something or other, but it was Plumpjack is where I stayed. It was
Yeah.
amazing. Oh my gosh, what an amazing place that is. I mean, it looks Dutch or German or I don't know, Denmark or I don't know what it is. But I mean, it looks amazingly beautiful. The buildings are amazingly beautiful. The mountains are amazingly beautiful. Then they had snow caps on them. I'm like, gosh, this place is so amazingly beautiful. But it was cold. I'm not ready for cold. And so yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I split my time between here and the Bay Area because it's very
Got it.
sleepy here, but it's very magical. So yeah, it's a very special place. But
Perfect.
so
Yeah.
to answer your question, why is this book written for the leader? Well, we are in peril, and we are at the point where, like, if some people believe we're past the point, but where we have to actually connect into what's happening here. And part of us really truly waking up into our potential is waking up into the truth of where we're at as a human race. And
Yeah.
it's fascinating. It's the shadow, right? Like this is all being designed so that we wake up into this time. So this book is really about, stepping back from the quest of being rich and having significance, and like, because it's like an endless trap. Like, I mean, I have friends that have huge net worths and they're still not really satisfied. It's not about that. It's about
I
finding
hear that a
home
lot.
within. Yeah, and it's fascinating. It's like, I work with a lot of men, and I'm a coach, and they usually come to me and they're like, oh, I think I want to open up, I want to try open relationship, or I want to try this. And it's like, what you're seeking for isn't going to be found outside of you. You need to answer the call within, and typically we need to sit with our feelings. So this book is a journey and a quest. It's a parable, and it has commentary. It's both, and it takes you on a journey of this quest and what life is like, and how we're kind of all taught to buy into this idea or system that, like, if we climb this one mountain, it's going to be the thing that makes us, like, have fulfillment in all the riches. And typically most of us find along the way that it's not the answer. So then what? Then what's the answer? And, so then we begin to seek for what's ours, or what resonates with us. And it's going to be different for everybody. And this book is designed to offer a lot of cues. And you're not going to take these things the way I do. I don't want you to feel the way I do. What I am trying to get the reader to do is to connect into themselves and find their own guidance system and listen to their own way. And our body is the most sacred intelligence on the planet. And if we can actually stop trying to hack it or modify it or biohack it or, keto ourselves into something, and we start listening to what the body's telling us, there's sacred wisdom there. And it's connecting into the divine. So this book is really about the quest of finding home within ourselves, and that what we're looking for outside of ourselves can only be found within. And the journey is really, the hero's journey for the most part, for most people. And it's really realizing that you are what you're looking for, and becoming that person that can connect in and trust. So that's the journey. So trying to hit the leader in this book, because we're at a point on the planet where we can't keep just taking out the recycling. We have to hit things on a system scale. And I can't teach a leader, and I work with a lot of CEOs. I have a lot of people come to plant medicine to work with me, and you can't teach someone to have empathy, and you can't teach someone to have compassion. Like, those are things that you have to learn through experience. And the only way to do that is to start oh yeah, you can't. I mean, no. And it's funny because it's like I work with a lot of men who, like, just don't understand the idea of empathy or compassion. Women too. It's not just men. And you can't teach someone that. They have to actually go through something so existential, such a deep experience, that it makes them then be able to care.
I don't know. I mean, I don't believe that you can read something and just master it. I do think it comes through experience.
I don't think so either.
There's a lot of emotional intelligence books. There's a lot of content out there about how to lead with empathy. I'm a big proponent of, when I talk to leaders, I'm like, you must lead with empathy. You must meet your people that you serve, because I believe that leaders serve their people, not the other way around. But I say, as a leader, and those that you lead and those that you serve, you need to meet them where they are, and you need to crawl into the hole with them sometimes. And especially, we hear a lot of veterans that are committing suicide, a lot of active duty military. This 2019 has been the deadliest year for military, Guard, Reserve, and veterans. There's been more suicides than any other year even since Vietnam, this year.
Yes, and I couldn't agree more with you. And I tell you, the most interesting part is that this whole positivity New Age movement, which this book talks a lot about, is the detriment. It's the cancer of the planet. Because when someone's suffering with suicidal tendencies and you say, no, you shouldn't feel that way, your life is this, whatever, your life is great.
Yep.
We're not meeting them where we're at. And
it can always be better. Come on, you can do it. Yeah.
Right. I know, but we're not seeing them. Like, if we don't meet someone truly where they're at, and it's uncomfortable to sit there with them for a lot of people. You have to feel. It's a deeper level of.
Yep.
I mean, we have made a decision as a planet and as a community of people that it's okay that we have homeless and hungry people, veterans included. I'm not okay with that. We've made this decision.
I'm not either.
And yes, they're like, all right. And the thing people always say is, no, they're just they have mental illness. They don't want to be helped, and that's crap.
That's not true either.
There are people that do. No, that's not true either. And so, if we can't, I promise you, between you and I, we could take the 10 best minds that we know and put them in a room, and I have no idea how long it would take, but when they came out, we would have some type of solution. Solution. But we have to care. And the quest for capitalism and to be rich, this book really promotes people, and you obviously, Tom, very passionate about it, is what is your enough number? What is enough? Now, enough could be that you have income streams coming in so that you can invest and retire. I get that. But then at what point, when that's created, then what's the dream? Because everyone's just focused on more money, and that's not how it's going to work. So my question is what kind of world do we want to create, and what kind of people do we want to become? We could all have enough. We could all have education. I just watched this guy that was in the military who was doing this huge speech in D.C. with other people in the military, saying the machine of war is on this quest to just keep us in the state, and it's the people. I think he said it was 700. It was an anonymous video. $700 million a day it costs for us to be in war. And I don't know if this figure is correct.
I don't know.
It's an interesting video, right? But it was he's for what? He's so I can go kill 4 people in 4 villages. So it's us uniting. We have to unite, because together, united, is so much different. But we all have to learn how to feel our shit, and we all have to learn to be with what's true, and we all have to learn to not just follow the way. I mean, this whole thing that just happened with this young woman who is all promoting climate change, you could just see where everyone's at. Nobody gave a damn about the climate 3 weeks ago, and now everybody's out there protesting, missing school and stuff. Now, listen, I'm not saying that the planet isn't having climate issues, but if you want to be way more weird, like I am about it, I think a lot of it's created. And I think that our bigger issues are 5G and all the shit that's going into our air and our water. And so, if we really want to talk about it. So this book is for you to get to think for yourself. Don't listen to me, but have discernment and, decide what you think for yourself. Go do research. Go watch an article. There's so many, go watch The Truth About Vaccinations. Make a decision for yourself.
Yep.
But don't just don't go the way everyone else is going.
I literally had an in-depth conversation over the weekend with somebody talking about 5G. And here's what I think. I do not think that cancer will be created or diseases will be invented or that 5G is going to render us, whatever. What I do think is going to happen, because, we're not really affected by what we have right now, is that 5G will exacerbate autism, mental illness. It's going to do something to the mind and body or whatever to maybe I have a minor mental case, and then using 5G is going to exacerbate it to where you have a major meltdown, you're going to see major issues. And something that maybe was in their DNA or something they were predisposed to, maybe I have a little bit of Alzheimer's, I'm getting a little bit older, I'm in my 60s, I'm in my 70s, I'm in my 80s, get a little bit of Alzheimer's. You start using the phone, you're going to have super Alzheimer's or dementia. It's going to be everything's going to be exacerbated. It's going to bring it to the surface. That's what I think is going to happen, just by research studies and what everybody is talking about. I don't think it's going to create a brain tumor. That's ridiculous. But I do think that what's going to happen is the diseases that you already have are going to be exacerbated. Yes, 100%. I think that's going to happen.
So I totally respect that that's how you. So I have a very different opinion about it. My wireless router went out Friday, and I had to go and buy a new one. The only option is 5G. So I had to bring 5G into my home, and I set it up, and I instantly was sick to my stomach, and I instantly had a headache. And as I had my father over, and he was helping me like set it all up, and like he's like, yeah, I don't feel any of it, and it doesn't, like, there are highly sensitive people. I don't know if you've read that book on HSPs, but highly sensitive people. We're 30% of the population of humans and animals are designed to have a more sensitive group of people. We're the ones that notice when the weather changes, when food supply isn't the same. Like, it's very interesting to learn about it, and like, we're so sensitive to things. Like, there's no way I could function with this going in my home. So I have to figure out how to get my old router fixed, which is like 2.5 gigahertz. Like, right? Like I do, because I've had 5G forever. So, well, that's awesome. But like at the same time, we don't have the same constitution. So how it affects you isn't going to be how it affects me. And whether it's going to grow cancer in people or not, I mean, I don't know that. And like, I want to say, like, if something's that dangerous, we don't need 5G. We don't need it.
No.
Like 4G, LTE, it was fine. But like,
fine. Yeah, that's what I said.
Toy, like, right, like, yeah, like, and it's just going to make people like crazy. We're going to have more. We could potentially have more shootings. There's so many things. So it's like, rather than that, and I'm way more of a conspiracy theorist than you are. But like, I definitely believe in geoengineering of weather. I do.
I think you are definitely way of a more conspiracy theorist. However, you're like, okay, so yes, but I don't think you're like one of those crazy ones that's like, oh, like the Earth is flat and we're in a computer simulated model because the Y2K actually killed everybody. Like, there's some really conspiracy theorists, like, and they have all the research supposedly.
Oh yeah, CERN's interesting. So CERN is like an underground area, like it goes in between two countries, Switzerland and something else. And like, essentially, they were playing scientifically with an atom, and they split an atom. So they can run an atom, which I have no idea how you do this. You run an atom through this enormous amount of area. It's in a circle. And there's this kid who's a genius who came out, I think it was like last year, and he said that, and again, I don't know if this to be true. It's just an interesting idea.
Yep.
That when they split the atom, that it split us into parallel universes, and everything's like 0.1% different. So maybe the only difference is that a cat's walking on the left side of the street as opposed to a right. Listen, I don't know if that happened, but I can tell you as a person that's done a significant amount of internal work that I'm having lots of flashes a day that put me into fifth dimension. And like, it's undeniable. Like, I can stand in the shower and be like, it's almost as though I've already dreamt this lifetime. And I'll be like, oh, I remember dreaming that when I was a kid, and now it's happening. So I can't explain that. I don't know what it means. And like, for me to come out and say it means this would be like, I don't know what it means. All it means, I can tell you I'm experiencing it. Like, I don't know what it feels like when you have to poop, right? Like, I don't know that experience. You do, only you do. So you telling me, then, right, I could only go based off of what you're telling me. It's like, well, wow, that's not my experience. That's not what it feels like for me, right? So this whole book is just about connecting people into what they feel, listening to it, and like finding a way to blaze their trail, and for the leader to encourage the people that they lead to do the same.
Got it. I got it. Honestly, I've been having like this, like, I don't know, not premonitions. So throughout my life, I've always, and it would rarely happen, maybe a handful of times a year, I would dream a moment. Like, let's say you and I meet at an event, and you said, hey, what's up? And we high-fived. Like, I would dream that moment. It'd be the only thing that I would dream, but I would dream that one moment. So this year, I've had a lot more, like a lot more, and I've actually identified in that moment. I was at Tahoe, and I met a guy, and I repeated what he was going to say. Like, I met him, and I was like, hey, how's it going? And then I got like chills up my spine, and I said this. He goes, that was weird. I was like, I just knew you were going to say that, because I dreamt it. And now what I really concentrate on doing is when I dream, I try to write things down. Like, when I wake up, I'm like, oh my God, I had this dream. It's so fresh. I'm writing like everything down, what they wear, the color of their hair, what their name was. If I like any minute detail, I just write it all down. and this guy was wearing a red shirt and red shoes and something else. When I met the guy in Tahoe, it was blue shoes, blue shirt, but he said the same exact thing. And I was like, this is weird. And I told him, I said, yeah, dude, I dreamt that I was going to meet you. Like, I don't know. Like, it was like a deja vu. Like, I literally had a deja vu moment. Like, I felt like I lived this already. And I've been having those real frequently this year. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, someone's going to think I'm a weirdo, but it's undeniable. Undeniable.
God. Right, I know. Yeah, no, it's interesting. Well, we have 7 chemicals that we create in our bodies that are just like, drugs. They're just as toxic and potent, right? Like, so we create something in our brain called dimethyltryptamine or DMT, right? Like we create that in our brain when we sleep on some small level. And then when we die, as we're dying, we create copious amounts of it, which is what they say passes us through, right? Which is, it's an interesting thought. So when you ingest it, like in a liquid form, it's incredible. Like you kind of go through the dimensions into yourself, which is a lot of the work we do in our retreats and shamanic work typically. But it's fascinating. I was in that medicine, sitting in that medicine, and the medicine has a spirit, which might be hard for people to grasp, but everything, if you look at the spirit of lavender has a spirit, like every growing thing, living thing has a spirit, and every growing living thing on the planet has the ability and the capability to make and produce DMT, which is fascinating, right? So it's like a kind of the spirit molecule, the thing that connects us. So in this medicine ceremony, the medicine spirit came to me and said, do you remember this dream? And she showed me this dream that was like super pivotal in my life when I was a kid, and it had these little rainbow people that were in a circle, and 2 would pop up and share, and then 2 would pop down, and then the next 2 would pop up. So everybody was sharing, and it was like a community. And she's like, I gave you this dream when you were a kid. And everybody's right. And I was like, wow, that's so interesting to me because I remember it so vividly. And then you wonder why, the plant medicine movement's huge out there right now and all the things that people are doing. But we are the medicine. All this is in us. It's just clearing the crystal enough to get inside and remove all the schmutz, as I call it, so that we can remember our way back into ourselves. Right?
Have you heard of microdosing?
Oh, yeah. I run medicine ceremonies for people. I run a lot of private medicine ceremonies, and I support people a lot that are looking into microdosing. Yeah, there's a lot of happening with the microdose movement.
There's a lot. Like, oh, my gosh. I've been reading about this for the past 2 months. People who are microdosing, people who are
my 80-year-old father is microdosing.
Really?
Never had done a psychedelic in his life, and he's microdosing psilocybin paired with lion's mane, which is a medicinal mushroom. Together, they're like a powerhouse.
Jeez, that's so nuts. All I heard about this whole weekend was the Spartan races, whatever. They're talking about Burning Man. I'm like, what the heck is Burning Man? It's like, man, you got to go. Oh, you got to go. And it's like 300,000 people just sitting in the desert getting hocked up on mushrooms and weed, and then they burn a bunch of stuff, and it's like this huge spiritual ceremony, and I'm like, what? Like that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard. Well, I mean, I know plants, I get that. Yeah.
But the thing about Burning Man people is that they typically don't feel as though they can live this freely in their regular life. Like I've never done Burning Man. I wouldn't, and I don't agree with they've created. There are movements of organizations that have gone out to camps like Burning Man and created medical and psychiatric tents, so that when people are going through these huge exponential experiences, that they actually have proper support. So they're bringing people in. I had a guy when I had a podcast who was on my show, Dr. Ben Sessa, and he's one of the leading researchers for MAPS, which MAPS is the Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelic Studies, and it's been around for over 40 years. And they're the ones who got MDMA approved for the FDA. So Ben Sessa was on my show. He actually wrote the front quote from my book, and they're doing crazy research right now. And you can always search him or MAPS to see what kind of stuff they're doing, but they're learning they're using LSD for autism.
That's what I heard.
Which is fascinating. Yeah. Yep. So there's so many things out there that are happening, and then I run retreats into crazy medicine where we bring people in who really are ready to understand what they're made out of. And sitting in these medicines is not like it's just this like joy. It's really challenging work. You are typically going to face the craziest, darkest parts of yourself.
Yep, absolutely.
So it has to be done right. I don't agree. I don't agree with like rhythmia. I don't agree with going to Peru and sitting in a group of 80 people. I don't agree with any of that. I think it needs to be done way more ceremonially and way more sacredly with smaller groups where you're in protection and there's integration.
There's been a lot of talk about ayahuasca too. A lot of talk about this. Going to the desert.
And, retreats. You don't have to.
Oh, you do?
So, yes. I run retreats into ayahuasca 6 times a year.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
How'd you get into that?
I started working with that medicine about 6 years ago, this lifetime.
Wow.
And and I have such an amazing network of people that I sit with an incredible medicine woman. We sit very sacredly. It's very protected. I offer integration, support, and coaching in and out. We have
that is incredible.
The transformation is just absolutely mind blowing.
That is incredible. That's what I've been hearing a lot of is ayahuasca. Yeah. You got to go do it. You're gonna find yourself, and I'm like, really, am I?
No, really.
Like,
no, really.
And they're like, bro, you have no idea. I'm like, okay, They're like, dude, you have no idea.
Going to the jungle. Yeah, I don't recommend going to the jungle your first time. I mean, it's hard enough sitting in medicine this deep. It's one of the strongest psychedelics on the planet. But when you're dealing with creepy crawlies and, the fuzzy ones and everything's wet and mosquitoes, it's a bitch. So starting your journey off somewhere I didn't sit in the jungle until my 20th ceremony.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's incredible. What they're doing that, like I don't get the anti-vaxxers and like all that. Like, I think it's way more harmful if you don't vaccine. Like, because think about it. Like, we have medicine to get rid of the flu. We have medicine to get rid of other diseases. We have penicillin that gets rid of like STDs and stuff. Like, why wouldn't you have a medicine that gets rid of, like, I mean, I've been shot up with anthrax like 8 times because I spent time in the military. So I've gotten like 8 or 9 anthrax shots. I've gotten smallpox twice, yellow fever, Japanese encephalitis, yellow fever. I think I already covered that one. Like I've got bird flu. Like I'm like every single disease on the planet you can ever think of. Like I've been shot up with it, like to inoculate or vaccinate or whatever.
I totally respect your opinion and always like it's having free conversation, but like I am definitely against vaccinations. And I think that immunization can be smart. Oh yeah. There's no way I would get a vaccination. I would never get a cold or flu shot.
Never get your kids vaccinated.
I wouldn't, and I don't have children purposefully because it's like you have to be dedicated to be homeschooled. You have to dedicate to that whole point. No, I mean, in Japan they don't do any vaccines until they're 7, so they actually have a chance to like grow and be. But like no, I mean I'm home remedy. I went to Peru for 30 days and learned how to work with a frog venom called combo. I'm a practitioner of this medicine where I burn your skin and you lay this venom in the skin, and it's a purgative. It's designed to help you throw up. So it can cure Lyme's disease, which they say there's no Lyme, right? Like, so I'm all about like the natural route. And like every year I make what they call fire cider or master tonic, but I make my own flu shot. My dad takes it. He doesn't do vaccinations anymore or cold shot or flu shots. But you can literally make your own tincture of medicine. You take 2 tablespoons a morning. You can put it with honey for your children so that they'll take it. But it's amazing what happens when you put deep amounts of horseradish, garlic, turmeric, ginger, onion, and apple cider vinegar, and you let it ferment. Yeah. So like I'm all about like the holistic, the route. And I totally respect other people that have different opinions, but it's just definitely not for me. But plant medicine, like even like I have women who come to ceremony who do Botox in the face, and like I had eyelash extensions when I first started sitting in the medicine, and literally the medicine made me pull them out. And if you know how eyelash extensions work, is they're glued onto your lash, so you're going to pull your own lash out. And I'm like, please don't make me do this right now because I'll just let them fall out. And she was like, no, because you're like highly allergic to the glue. And I was, because I'm highly allergic. I'm so sensitive. So no, the plant medicine route for me is like, we're going back 4,000 years of tradition, especially with ayahuasca, because we sit with the first tribe of medicine, which is the Shipibo tribe, 4,000 years of knowledge. and learning and going back in within ourselves. To me, that it just seems so much more, everyone calls it like new age or new age medicine, but like what we're doing with Western medicine is only 100 years old. Like to go back to traditional ways, for me, seems to make more sense. But I'm all about going back in a lot of ways.
Oh, very cool. So I was just doing like I just want to do a quick search just because, I don't know, I was kind of curious. And I looked at like psychedelic drugs, I just did a quick Google search. And there's a study on Drug Facts, National Institute on Drug Abuse. And it says major psychedelic drugs include mescaline, LSD, psilocybin, DMT. Studies show that psychedelics are physiologically safe and do not lead to addiction. I didn't know that.
No, and they
don't lead to addiction.
Alcohol is a gateway drug, right? No, they don't.
Right.
Because typically, you have such an expansion that it doesn't happen. But the funny part is that we don't call them drugs; we call them medicine, because like when you work with them ceremonially in the correct way, it's all done as medicine. Yeah. Now, listen, people go to Burning Man.
Yeah. From what I was told, as long as you approach it in the correct state, is what somebody told me, and I was like, dude, it's. I mean, isn't ayahuasca isn't that illegal? Like mushrooms, like aren't psychedelics illegal?
Then you got to ask yourself
like,
why, right? But why are they're illegal? Because then we're no longer going to be factory workers. We're going to no longer follow the way. We're going to actually have our own way of thinking. We're going to be able to see through all the GMO food and all the shit that's grown and all the stuff like that. And then we're going to be like, wow, what's happened to us? Which is us waking up to the truth, which is what my book's about, right? Like, so it's like, hallelujah. Connect into yourself, and when we wake up from that mind and we're like, oh my God, I've been asleep forever, and we're not awake. So that whole woke AF movement and all that crap, like we're just beginning to wake from the slumber of into the nightmare in which we live, right?
For sure, for sure,
happening, right? Yeah.
Fascinating conversation. I mean, just by talking to some of the people, they said that if you approach this in a negative way, then once you trip on it, like you might have a bad trip. You might become even more negative, whatever. But if you approach it in a positive way, if you approach it in an open-minded way, then when you go through the process, then you'd have an open and honest experience. And that's kind of the way that was explained to me. Like negative equals negative and positive equals positive.
Well, to even think that an experience is negative is to still very much be living in duality, which there's only balance and imbalance. There's no right or wrong, good or bad. It's balance or imbalance, right? So like when you have a challenging experience in plant medicine, it's because you need it. Typically, whatever your experience is coming out of you. So if you can go into the darkness, go into your shadow and experience and sit with it, that is how we expand. There's a term, as above, so below, as within, so without, which means the direct proportion of darkness or into the ground I can go and sit and be with it is the direct proportion of light I'm able to understand and experience here. So it's like how much shadow you'll go into is how much light you get to experience. So I had 2.5 solid years of very heavy, very dark experiences in medicine as I brought out my depression, as I worked through suicidal thinking, as I healed some really deep, dark stuff in myself. And without those experiences, plant medicine is designed to take you over the edge of what the brain will allow and then bring you back. Our brain won't allow us to do it because it wants to keep us safe on our own.
Yep. Got it.
Yeah.
So how can we buy your book, and where is it, like Amazon, or where can we pick it up?
So my book is available everywhere books are sold, so you can get it anywhere. But if you'll go to Amazon and buy the Kindle version, which is available tomorrow, I don't know what day this is coming out. It's available
today
for 99 cents. Okay, perfect. Yay! It's available tomorrow for 99 cents. Please go buy it, and please help me celebrate this book and rock this message so that everyone can really understand what our full potential is. And it's available Amazon. You can go to Barnes & Noble. It's available at Target, anywhere you want to go. So please feel free to venture, and please leave a review if you feel so called. And our community, the Expanded Hueman, we have an amazing Facebook community. Please join us over there, and you can opt into the Expanded Hueman, HUEMAN.com /truth. and join our incredible masterclass series that we just started, where we're talking about sex and what it's like to love and be in a relationship in the new paradigm. We're talking about what it means to be a leader. The calls are just amazing. So please come join us.
Love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It is always a pleasure to have you, always a pleasure to talk to you, and I always have a fascinating conversation when I sit down and talk to you.
It's always something, right? I had no thought even that this conversation would turn this way on your show, but I'm so glad it did. It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, and I think that the more we talk about, see, that's the thing, right? You can talk about Trump, politics, religion, plant medicine, vaccines, cancer, big pharma, the ozone layer, everything, the culture, the climate. I mean, you can have any conversation you want, but the fact that you have a conversation is what informs people, not just saying, oh, this is what we believe, and, not even knowing why you believe it. Like if my mom said that I need to believe this and I believe this, then it would be like the monkey in the cage scenario. You put monkeys in a cage, they go to get the banana, you shock the monkeys, and as you take another one out and put another one in, the other monkeys will stop that other monkey from grabbing that banana. Pretty soon, no monkeys grab the bananas. They're all different monkeys. Nobody grabs the banana, but nobody knows why. You have to have these conversations that you and I are having right now. Have to.
And you have to think for yourself, and you have to start understanding to listen to the sacred wisdom of what you're being told to do. I mean, obviously don't go, shoot people and cause harm, but
Sure.
If you're really being called to do something interesting, listen to it and find somebody that you can talk to and teach each other and hold space for each other. Learn how to be wow, I'm having some crazy stuff. And I'll just share this lastly because I know we need to go, but there's a book called, I'm going to promote another book on my episode where we're promoting my book, but it's called Radical Wholeness. And it's such a great book, and Philip is a friend. And there's a part of the book that talks about how the voice is a sense. And it's like our sixth sense. I mean, we have many senses, but we often don't know what we think until we speak, which is exactly the opposite of what we've been taught. So having a space where you get to freely speak and say, I have no idea what I'm about to say, but let's learn something. And then, you may modify it until you come in. But it's really interesting when you practice that activity, what comes out of this.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Absolutely. Rhonda, always a pleasure. It's been absolutely phenomenal conversation. And where can people find you, websites, all that?
Yeah, theexpandedhueman.com. And you can probably the juiciest, most fun place to come is to my personal Facebook page and just follow me at Rhonda Smith. And I think you can go to Rhonda Smith 326 is how you find it. But I always post crazy, weird, very interesting stuff over there. So fill us there. We're also on Instagram at The Expanded Hueman. And, we have a lot of amazing stuff coming out, retreats, and our Inner Circle launches in January, which is a huge mentorship for a year to really turn people inside out and upside down. Yeah. So
the websites I have for you is cosmicsmith.com and theexpandedhuman.com/truth. Is that correct?
Yep, and Cosmic Smith is where we typically do my retreats and stuff. So, and we're going to the jungle in March to do a big training and teach people how to do that.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Oh, yeah. Love it. Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It is always an honor and a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a beautiful day.
You too. Life Transformation Radio listeners, an amazing guest elevating the world around her and bringing you the truth of the expanded human. If anything resonated with you today, please reach out to Rhonda Smith. If you have any questions about plant medicine, ayahuasca, any of that stuff, please reach out to her. Go to theexpandedhuman.com/truth right there in the show notes, and cosmicsmith.com right there in the show notes. Connect with her on social media. She is doing amazing, amazing things, groundbreaking work, and go and get her book tomorrow, October 1st. Go and get her book, The Whole Method. Leaders, quiet the noise, blaze your own trail, and expand into your true potential. And with that, I close the show by saying, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart. And I call this living your brand. So until next episode, live a great life.